Good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world that you are, you're watching the professor. I want to wish you a happy new year. Now, in the last few years, there's been a number of fraudulent schemes that I call Ponzi scheme. One of the biggest was the FX Ponzi scheme, and the person that was in charge of it obviously is now in federal prison. However, there is a bigger scheme. And the scheme is the Novatech scheme with its CEO, Reverend CEO Cynthia Petion. Now, many of you who've been watching me covering the FX Ponzi scheme have asked me why I have not talked about Novatech. And I wanted to tell you the reason that I have not talked about Novatech was because I was doing research on Novatech. And this is a research that I've done in the last 7 months. And now that I've completed my research, I am ready to speak to you about Novatech. But when I speak about these things, I'd like to be able to bring solution. Just like when I did for FX, I advise people they should seek an attorney, they should bring a class action lawsuit. I spoke to the receiver and trying to make sure that everybody who invested in FX get their money back. Now, I have to tell you that Novatech, it's a different beast. And let me explain to you why, because I'm going to make several videos about Novatech. I'm going to speak about Novatech for the next year or two until Cynthia Petion is arrested, or her husband, Alexandre Petion, is also arrested for the crime that they've committed. But for those of you who have invested in Novatech, I need you to listen very carefully what I'm going to tell you. Novatech was and remained a Ponzi scheme. It was nothing different than FX. It was exactly the same thing, where Cynthia Petion and her husband was going around the world collecting money from people, promised them a weekly return, but they were using money from new investors to pay old investors. This is just the way the Ponzi scheme worked. Now, there's the difference between Novatech and FX, and I'm going to explain to you why our technique in terms of how we're going to walk through this have to be different. First of all, Novatech was never registered in the United States as a company. They registered in the country of Antigua and the Caribbean. So that doesn't mean that Cynthia Petion couldn't get arrested, or her husband, Alexandre Petion, couldn't get arrested. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that the company decided to register in the island for certain protection, obviously. But I know that Cynthia Petion was living in West Palm Beach, Florida, and apparently she sold her house a few months ago, and we have investigators tracking her down around the world. So far, I know that she was in Dubai really not so long ago. So we got our investigators working. We will find out, we'll track her down. Now, if you are an investor of Novatech, what can you do? I know that there are at least one WhatsApp group that I have seen. And there are over 1,000 people in the WhatsApp group. I've been following the conversation, and certainly people are talking, people don't know what to do. Guys, listen, you've invested your money in a Ponzi scheme. That's what you did. Now, for those of you who invested in good faith, obviously, if you knew it was a Ponzi scheme, you probably would not have invested. But you invested anyway, okay? So here's what you're going to have to do. And before I tell you how we're going to move through this, and hopefully, maybe some of you might get some money, okay? And I'm going to explain to you why. The first thing is, a person who is a victim would have to contact the FBI and obviously launched a complaint against Cynthia Petion and Haitian Petion. Now, I have heard that some people in Florida are getting ready to do a march and somewhere in Florida and Fort Lauderdale. That's not going to work because who are you marching against? Are you going to march against the people? I mean the politicians or the law enforcement in Miramar, Florida? No, they have nothing to do with this. Obviously, they're not the person you want. They're not your target. What you want to do is file a complaint with the FBI, get an FBI agent, explain what happened, explain what investment that you made, and let the FBI opens a file. Now, once the FBI is investigate, okay, Novatech and found reason to file a criminal charge against Cynthia Petion and Haitian Petion, then you as a complainant, the FBI would let you know that. And then the FBI has the wherewithal to track anybody anywhere in the world. You can't hide from the FBI. I mean, you can do that. So I don't care where Cynthia Petion is in the world, she would eventually get caught. She may not get caught tomorrow, the day after, next week, or even next year, but she would eventually get caught, okay? So that's the first thing you got to do. There is no question, there is no if and but. This is how you're going to be able to get to this by making a complaint, by launching a complaint with the FBI and let the FBI investigate. So hopefully the more people who complain, the more reason that an FBI agent or FBI office, whether in Florida, New York, Chicago, wherever, would have a reason to look into this. Okay, now, I know that there have been at least 7 different cease and desist letters from the state of California to the state of Wyoming to Canada to different places around the world. They have sent letters to Cynthia Petion, to Novatech, and Antigua, and asked them to cease and desist targeting people in this particular geographical areas because what they were doing, according to the cease and desist letter, was illegal. But to me, it's more than that. It's not just that what they were doing was illegal. Obviously, they knew it was illegal. That's the reason why Cynthia Petion registered his company in the state in the country of Antigua. So now those cease and desist letters would have nothing to do with you if you are a particular investor, because normally what really happened, if Cynthia Petion were to come to one of those hearings, I mean, most likely there would be a fine. Nothing big, there would be a fine that I'm sure that she would be able to pay with the $2 billion she collected from people all over the world. Now, first thing, we got to get to the FBI. We got to talk to the FBI. We got to get FBI the information. Let the FBI investigate, and hopefully the FBI would then arrest Cynthia and her husband, Haitian Petion. Okay? Now, what else can we do? You could file, all of you, some of the investors could come together and file a class action lawsuit against Novatech. Now, I don't want to push your hope up because remember, nobody knows where your money is, because my investigations reveal that a lot of people were actually buying crypto and sending that crypto to Novatech to Cynthia Petion's account. So basically, you weren't just sending hard cash. It wasn't like you're sending it to an account. You were sending to crypto. Once you send crypto, God knows where that money is. Nobody knows. So if Cynthia Petion still has that money, which I believe she does, she most likely have it somewhere sitting in crypto, and it could be over $1 billion in crypto. Now, filing a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit, against Novatech and Cynthia and her husband and whoever was helping him, might be a good way to start, but it's just a start because we don't know where the assets is right now. So the first thing is we would have to hire, the lawyers would have to hire a really good investigator, actually not an investigator, but an investigative team that would then get out there and figured out where the asset is, so that those of you who are members of the class, eventually, if those assets could be seized, eventually you'll be able to get your money back. But I have to tell you, this is an uphill battle. This is not like MNEFX where A.D. Alexander get arrested and the receiver comes in and the receiver know where the assets are, collect the asset, and then hoping to turn it over to the people who invested. For Novatech, it's different. So my advice would be to sue Novatech, absolutely. Because I don't expect that even if we were to be able to find Cynthia, which I can tell you that we will find where Cynthia is. I mean, it just, the only way we wouldn't be able to find her if she never uses a credit card, she never get out of the house, she's hiding under, she's hiding underground in a hole. But if she's anywhere in the world and she's leaving, she's coming out, she's going to the store, she's taking her kids to school, we will find her. So that's not even an issue. I'm not concerned about that. Now, even if we were to find her and we serve her with a complaint, she may and may not answer. If she doesn't answer and we could prove that we serve her, you might be able to get a judgment against her and against MNEFX for whatever amount of money you're asking the judge to award you. Now, once that happens, then the next step is trying to enforce that judgment. And this is where your investigator comes in to figure out where the asset is. So the best course of action right now would be for the FBI to arrest Cynthia Petion and her husband, bring her to New York, bring her to Florida, put her in jail, and then start unraveling, where the assets are or what's going on. But like I've always said, people, and I've said this to you, and I'm going to say to everyone, I think that most of you who probably have listened to me on MNEFX, and I'm going to give you the same advice. Do not ever invest on something you do not understand, okay? And I know people think that, oh yeah, there's Novatech, and I have heard from hundreds of people who talk about Novatech, and I can tell you that if the Haitian community lost $500 million in MNEFX, Novatech is actually 4 times that, because I know a lot of people who invested a lot of money in Novatech thinking that this was going to be a great investment, that they were going to make a lot of money. So I knew when I first bought Novatech, when I first looked at Novatech and their website and how they were taking people's money and the way that they were doing it and the fact that they're not even in the United States, I knew that it was a fraud, a Ponzi scheme. That's what it is, a Ponzi scheme. So in the next few months, I am going to I'm going to reveal some of the, some of the result of my investigation into Novatech. So I want you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. And we're going to be out there looking for Cynthia and her husband. So if you follow me, you'll get update about Novatech. Certainly, I have been contacted by many people who invested in Novatech. And in order for you to get your money, you have to organize. And the only way to do this is to the legal system. Whether it's the criminal system or the civil system, you've got to go to the system. And I'm going to talk to you about Cynthia Petion, who she is, her husband, Alexander Petion, who she is. Because a lot of the time, when somebody comes to you with a proposition, somebody comes to you and offer you something, it might be good to look into this person's background, to ask the question whether the person could deliver really what they're promising. What kind of person they, what kind of their track record, what have they done? And I think many of you have invested in Novatech. You never ask any questions of who is Cynthia Petion, where she came from, what is her background, what is her education level, what she's doing, and has she ever done this before? What's going on? You never ask this question. Where is the company located? Why is the company outside of the United States? Why is it not in the United States? And none of you, probably most of you never even asked those questions. And what I'm trying to teach you, what I'm trying to tell you guys, if you're going to buy a house, right? You're going to check the roof. You're going to do inspection. You're going to make sure that the water pipes are not going to burst. You're going to make sure that there is things to heat the water. You're going to make sure there's a lot of things. And you're buying a house, probably the biggest purchase in your life, $500, $600, $1 million. You're going to do all that. So you know what do we call this? We call it due diligence. That's how you know what you're buying is actually good. You do your due diligence. You do your research. You find out all the questions you have. You make sure that they are being answered. So if you're going to put your money into something like Novatech, you can just send money. You got to find out what the company is about. Who's behind the company? What success do they have? How do they invest your money? What are the returns? Where they invest the money? You have to ask questions. You can't just put money in something because everybody else is putting money and you feel like you're missing out. Because I had a friend of mine who said to me, he put $50,000 on Novatech. And I said, but why would you do that? I mean, what did you know about Novatech? I mean, do you have any experience? Do you know anyone who made money? And how was it going? This is what everybody was invested in. They said they were getting money every week. And I told him a long time ago, and this was about a year and a half ago, and I said to him, listen, Novatech will eventually come down because here's what happened. When you do a Ponzi scheme, you have to keep bringing more money in. You have to keep bringing people in. People have to keep coming. And the money that people are bringing in has to be a lot more than the money you have in reserve because in a Ponzi scheme, you have to use new money to pay for people who put their money, before. So in other words, if you're in a Ponzi scheme, you bring me in and I invest $100,000. Now you invest $100,000 2 months ago. This Friday, you want to take some of your money, but guess what? Your money might have already begun to pay other people, okay? So it's my money that this is being used to pay you, but it's not from profit. So Novatech never made any profit. Novatech never invested any money anywhere. I've done all the research. I haven't found one single investment made by Novatech. What Cynthia Petion was doing is exactly what Eddie Alexson did with EminiFX. They set up an account. They have people bring them all this money in cryptocurrency, and then they keep that money there, but they're not trading. They're not selling it. It's not like they're selling crypto and they're making a profit. No, they keep bringing people. So what happened last year? Okay, what happened about 6 months, 7 months ago? Novatech stopped paying. People could go to the website and you couldn't get your money out. What was the reason that Cynthia Petion gave you? That there was a problem with their system. That is the classic excuse that there's something with the system or something have happened or we couldn't. No. There was nothing wrong with the system. The Ponzi scheme came to an end, okay? There weren't enough people putting money in. Of course, the economy was getting bad. The people who came in early, they put in money, and some of them made money because they actually took other people's money, okay? Not from investment. They made money because maybe they invested early, they took all their money out or what have you. They made money. But there comes a time when you don't have enough money coming in, so eventually the Ponzi scheme would collapse. This is what Novatech was, okay? And I hope that some of you who have invested in Novatech, I hope that you have learned a valuable lesson because that type of investment is fraudulent. That type of promise of a big return every week and don't worry about where the money is invested. We're going to invest it for you. You don't have to ask any questions. And one thing I've noticed in my research about Cynthia Petion, Cynthia Petion presents herself as a woman of God. She presents herself as a minister. I have no idea where she got her ministry license or where she has their training as a minister, but that's how she presented herself. She's not a will minister, okay, to begin with. And certainly we'll talk more about her background, where she came from. But I'll tell you one thing. Be very, 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 very careful of people who comes to you under the name of God for investment, okay? Be very careful for people who say that God wants you to be rich, God wants you to be this, God wants you to be that, and that's the reason why they're bringing this to you. Because the first question I ask anyone who comes to me with such a thing is, if this was so good, why are you bringing it to me? Why haven't you gotten all your friends and your family and everybody rich, and then you'd come to me? So Cynthia Petion right now had collected over $2.3 billion from people all over the world. Canada, most of the investors, most of people who put in money there in the United States, Canada, a few people in Europe, a few people in Africa, some people in the Caribbean, but the bulk of the people who invested that $2.2 billion is actually from the United States and Canada. So if you're watching this and you're an investor, call the FBI. I'm sure the FBI would mind putting some resources and trying to investigate this and find out what happened. And for those of you who have invested in a mini FX, if you have receipt, if you have any type of document that show your investment, please don't throw it away. Keep it. This might become very important later on. But like I've always said, if you listen to the professor, you would learn. So for all of you who wanted me to talk about Novatech, like I said, I'm going to continue talking about Novatech. I'm going to continue giving you update, find out what's going on with the Novatech file. If you have any questions, as always, my telephone number is right in, below the screen. You can make a comment, underneath that video. You can leave me your email address, your telephone. I certainly would mind returning your message or contact you. So again, I apologize. I'm sorry for those of you who lost money. But if we can work together, maybe you might be able to get some money. I don't know how long it would take. It might take a long, long time because of the nature of the case. Like I said before, Novatech is registered in Antigua. The way that we can sue Novatech, even though if they're in Antigua, they could be sued. Cynthia Petion can be sued. Her husband can be sued. All the people that works with her and the people that help bring about the Ponzi scheme or sustain the Ponzi scheme can also be sued. But we have to start somewhere. And the professor would help you do that. So you keep watching, subscribe to my channel, and you would learn more about what's going on with Novatech. Again, I thank you for watching, and Happy New Year to you, prosperity, health, and most of all, be safe. Thank you for watching.